Hermitcraft Infinity. Welcome back to Hermitcraft Infinity. Alright, well, as you can see, there's been a little bit of changes here. Got a little bit of work done. I fleshed out the ME controller, not into a full six-sided cube, but just a square shape there. And I've got it sticking out from the wall because it was strategically easier to do. Specifically, having it flush in with the wall would mean having to redo the P2P tunnel connection that hooks up to the spawn base. And given that it took me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours or something like that to get that working in the first place, I do not really relish the idea of doing it again. So it's sticking out. Everything else is pretty much flush. And by the way, as was pointed out in the comments, the look of this thing, kind of resemblance of Mother in the Nostromo of the Alien movie. That, you know, that never even occurred to me when I was doing this, and it does sort of kind of resemble that kind of look, and I think that's cool, so I am definitely going to leave it like this. I like that. Once it was pointed out, it became really obvious, and so I'm going to keep that. I have started over here with beginning to set up alloy smelters and ME interfaces for the purpose of processing things that need to be smelted in the course of crafting. And I've got 8 smelters here. That should be more than enough to handle whatever is going to need to be done. Over here, 8 more items. These are sag mills. And again, once I get everything figured out exactly how I need to set it up, it should be plenty sufficient for what it needs to be doing. So there's 8 channels for smelters, 8 more channels for sag mills, and I still have another 16 channels on this cable here, so there's plenty of room. Over here, I have begun setting up the automatic smelting arrangement. What I've got here is 2 sag mills that will process incoming ores, and then the ores, the resulting dusts or whatever, will go to these sag mills, these alloy smelters, and I can easily add more of these if need be, because I'm doing this whole thing, all of these machines, well, there's 8 machines here, and I'm only using 5 channels. I've got a couple of export buses here that are feeding flint into the sag mills, because they work a little better when you feed them flint. I know the dark steel balls or whatever it is also does that, but flint is easy. I've got tons of the stuff. And another couple of export buses facing into this chest. These export buses are going to export ores from the system as they come in into that chest, and then the Ender IO item conduit is going to take them in here. And to cover up the conduit, I've finally figured out conduit facades. Put a wrench or a conduit in your hand and you can see through them. That is cool. And you can get access to the things through the conduits and everything. That's great. So basically, if I go over here and look, all of these materials get sent to get pulled, inserted into the sag mills, and they're going to draw from that chest. And then the resulting dusts get sent to these alloy smelters and processed. Coming out of the alloy smelters is not using the same conduit. The alloy smelters are set up to export out through the back into more Ender IO item conduit around the chest, specifically disabled connections on it so that it wouldn't put the stuff in there. Instead, it will pump it into this ME interface, which will drop it back into the system. Not bad. 5 channels, no waiting. Well, probably some waiting. And now I'm going to go ahead and start this off and put the first item in here in this export bus. It's set up with capacity cards to make it handle 9, and the other ME and export bus out there over there on the side can handle another item for a total of 10, which is what the these filters can filter up to 10 items. So I figure there's no point in trying to process more than 10 items with this setup. If I do need to, I can duplicate the setup over here, make a whole new thing like that, and process more stuff. But I don't think I'm going to have to. So go ahead and pop the iron ore in here. Iron is now being exported into the chest. Alright, let's hit this thing with a speed upgrade because it's obviously going kind of slow. Let's put 1 on here. I think I'm going to leave it at that for right now. Yes, I could easily put 2, but maybe I don't need to. Now, this conduit here that comes out of here, I've got it set up so that it is active with signal. And that way I can use this lever as a shutoff to cut the system off. So we'll go ahead and turn that on. And we have iron ore being pumped into the sag mills, both of them. And we have dusts being pumped into the alloy smelters. And this one's getting the ferrous that sometimes comes as a result of smelting or doing sag mill processing on iron. And great. And considering that iron is the one thing that I've got more of than any other ore, I've got 105,000 of it. I figure this is a good test for the system to have it start processing the iron. When the iron is done, I will go to the next item in the chest, which is tin, and just go right down the line and process everything. And once I've got all of these items in the export bus, then the system will, once it's processed everything that is currently as a backlog, unprocessed, it will then should be able to handle processing pretty much everything as it comes in. And like I said, if need be, I can add more smelters and even more sag mills. But I shouldn't have to. Let's see what else. I finally got around to getting a wireless charger in here, so I didn't have to keep running back to spawn to recharge. And still on the to-do list is automating the AE puddle. And I'm going to go ahead with the setup sort of like what Slipgator's got set up in his Puddletron 9000 or whatever he calls it. And then the big one is automating the production of the processors and the inscribers. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on some of that, and I'll check in. All right, things don't look too awfully different in here, but I have gotten some more stuff done. I got set up here placeholders for this is where I'm going to do the inscribers for over here to make logic, and over here for calculation press chips, and over here for the engineering chips. I figure that's about where it's going to be, and about how much room it's going to take up. It may go a block deeper than that, but that's fine. And I'll be running the wires under the floors and so on, of course. I'm going to probably do that whole job off camera because it's a time-consuming, a little bit tedious job. It's just going to take probably 2 or 3 hours to get set up. And let's see. Oh yes, I did get the puddle automated, and it's done in such a way that it's always turned on. I have to come up with a way for it to automatically switch on when there is a need for it to. I could put a lever up here and run it to, oh, I forget what that part is called, but that I could wire it up so I could have a lever here to turn it off when it's not needed, but that kind of gets in the way of auto crafting this stuff, so I'm just leaving it on full time for now. And if I can come up with a reasonably easy way to wire it up so that it will automatically switch on and off, great. I'm not quite sure what I will do for that. However, anyway, up here, I've been busy because there's been several times in the last few days where I go to craft something and I get the message that there's no crafting CPUs available. So I come in here and I run this orange line into this room, and I hooked up this. What we have here is arrays of 64K crafting storage and 3 crafting coprocessors. There are 16 of these units hooked up here, and over here we have the room and the wiring to hook up 16 more, which actually I will be getting to, but not right away because it takes a while. Making these 64K crafting storage units takes quite a bit of time because you have to keep waiting on the production on the automated puddle to produce the necessary pure crystals, which it takes a while. That's the one downside of the puddle. There is, to my knowledge, other than the crystal growth accelerators, no way to speed that up. So what I need to do is to put together a system or a setup here that will monitor how many of each is in the system and automatically craft when it comes below that number so that there will be less delay. And another thing that's occurred to me is now that I'm getting things going here, I'm burning a lot more power. And I think I need to do something about automatically providing fuel for the reactor. Because the reactor automatically sets its power levels based on power demand, and that's great, but I need to automatically transmit fuel to it as well. So let's just carve out a little space here. Yeah, here we are. Oh, come on. Whoops. Don't need to be breaking cables. That's a bad thing. All right. Okay, let's see. This one is, right now it's providing channels for the terminals and for the puddle over there. Let's see, that's a total of 8 channels in use right now. So, let's see. Let me get a bit of smart cable and some of this other. Alright, smart cable here. Just run this back. Not going to need too awful many channels. I've already made up some ender chests. Okay, that one here and this one there. Alright, and we'll need an export bus and an import bus. No, that's incorrect. Okay, there we go. Alright, import bus. We'll put that on the blue one. And the export bus, put that on the yellow one. Run some wire down here. Okay. Yeah, I need to stop out here and get some samples of what I wanted to look for. Because so far, for quite a while now, the way the reactor has been getting fuel is that every once in a while I will head out there to it carrying an inventory load of fuel and take back the cyanite that's collected so far. But I figure, why not automate the yellorium delivery and the cyanite pickup? Actually, that's an import. I don't actually need to specify what I'm importing. Just import everything that goes in there. Let's get some acceleration cards. 2 should be more than enough. Alright. Alright, that's already filling up. Alright, now head out to the reactor, set up the other end of that. And we'll have to go by way of the spawn house. Ooh, boy, that glitchy's crazy when you come through there. Especially if it's the first time you've been through there since logging on. Okay. And I think the easiest way to do that is leave the existing plumbing in place. Just replace the chests. I probably should have emptied the chest before breaking it. Alright, we'll get rid of that too. Alright, what's in this one? Not much. Hook up this one. Alright, great. And the excess here, I'll just dump in. Oh, why are you doing that? Alright, great. There. Now the reactor will not have any fuel problems. I'll need to get processing more yellorium, of course, because now that the base is actually doing more, I'm actually using 2000 RF tick now, and the thing is running at like 84%. So, oh hey, they finally got the thing back to normalish. Oh wow, look at that. My God, it's full of stars. Reference. Couldn't help myself. Okay, anyway, that should take care of that. Somewhere along the line I should set up automation for the cyanite reprocessor to start reprocessing that into plutonium, which can also be used as fuel in that thing. But I'll get there. And yes, this hole in the wall will be closed up when I'm done in here. It's just a handy access to get back here and hook things up. And I probably will, even though, yes, I realize I doubt anybody needs this much crafting coprocessor capability. I want it anyway. I have the ability to do it. I don't see any reason why not. So, I will do that. And in the meantime, what I want to start working on next time is getting a spawner set up. I've gone ahead and I've made one of these powered spawners, which is this whole bit of nonsense. The powered spawner from Ender.io. And I've made it with one of those whiff spawners that I found along the way and broke. and I want to get actually probably 3 or 4 of these things hooked up in a building or room somewhere to spawn wisps, and then kill them with a grinder, collect up all the mob essence I get from that, and most importantly, the wisp essence that I will be getting from each of those, because that will be necessary going forward in Hermitcraft. In any event, I have got a lot of inscriber hookups to do, hooking it up and testing and whatnot. I know from experience that between the 3 different kinds of processors and the manufacture of silicon and printed silicon, and that, oh, printed silicon. I got this set up for 3 things. With printed silicon, there's 4, so I'll have to move this whole thing over. But between doing all of that, I'm going to use up most of a dense cable doing that, because the last time I did it, it took me 31 channels to get everything working. So, yeah, and probably about 3 hours of monkeying around with all this stuff and getting everything hooked up and running the cables and everything. But in the end, there will be automated production of all the processors anybody's ever going to need. And so on. Plus, of course, getting more things hooked up in here on the molecular assembly. Wait just a minute. What's going on here? What broke? Oh, that's connecting when it shouldn't. Alright, I got a slab, a cover here. That should fix it. Alright. Yeah, now we got all 32 molecular assemblers again. Alright, that's good. Had me worried there for a second. But I got a bunch of stuff on here, and right now I'm not even to the point where each ME interface, because it says molecular assembler, but its ME interface is hooked up to molecular assemblers. Right now each one has 2 items in it, working on the 3rd column. When I get to the 4th, there'll be 1 item per Mac, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill it out all the way to 9 items per ME interface, and it will still be some of the fastest auto crafting available, especially once I get around to making sure that each one of them has 5 acceleration cards, which is going to happen. That is another thing that's going to be really tedious. That's a lot of acceleration cards to place. Never mind make. Making is easy. You tell the system to make it, and there you go. Placing them, on the other hand, you have to do that manually. That's going to be fun. Yeah, okay. In any event, got some progress here. Things are looking good. Automation is looking great. And we got a whole lot more coming up soon. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out of here.